Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming News. Today is the 2nd October of 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be your host for the evening. And today we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite games, one of my all-time favorite books, one of my all-time favorite stories ever. We're going to talk about The Witcher. As it seems, The Witcher's author, Andrzej Sapkowski, if you don't know him, he's the author of the original books. He's Polish. He comes from the town known as Lodz. Demands over $16 million in royalties to be paid to him by CD Projekt Red. So, a document came out on the Polish stock exchange where the CD Projekt shares are traded on the open market. And essentially this letter claims that Andrzej was not sufficiently compensated for the rights of CD Projekt Red to create Witcher games. It even alleges that CD Projekt Red had essentially only had the rights to create the first game, that they purchased the games only for the first game, not for the rest, and that the fact that he got a fixed sum of money for the rights is in conflict with one of the Polish laws, which is known as prawo autorskie i prawa pokrewne. Essentially means copyright law and I don't know how to translate the other ones, Czech, like blood relation law, which was released in 2015 in Poland. And essentially, there is a condition that if an author is not fairly compensated, he can demand more money. And he is asking for 6% of The Witcher's franchise money that it made overall. It is interesting that he's asking only for 6%. I think that's because he actually liked the games, that they were true to his story, and they were. Like, I've read the books, I'm a big lover of them, and the Witcher games are actually true in heart to the story of The Witcher. So actually, I do have the document here, so let me pull that up for you. So here's the document, and so here is the notion that talks about how he may be getting more money. So it says, the above mentioned clauses, first and foremost, unconditional binding, and furthermore, it may be invoked when the compensation remitted to the author is too low given the benefits obtained in association with the use of the author's work. Notably, the latter condition is considered fulfilled if the compensation remitted to the author is too low by a factor of at least 2. So there's the thing that we do not really know how much money was Sapkowski paid for the license to create Witcher games. I'm gonna assume it's probably wasn't a lot, because who would have guessed that a game about Slav like history and mythology would ever be such a grand success as Witcher series have been. So there's a good chance that the compensation is probably lower by a factor of 2. It continues by saying these exact circumstances exist in Mr. Andrzej Sapkowski's case, where the aforementioned factor is significantly greater than 2, one might even say egregiously so. It may be assumed that the standard royalty rates associated with the use of work, particularly in adoptions, are approximately 5 to 15% of the profits are generated. Which, yeah, that seems fair. I would honestly say it's probably more like 3 to 5, but I don't really know that much about IP law, so maybe this is true. I'm going to guess the lawyer knows, so yeah. In addition, this percentage value should be greater than the corresponding provisions of your contract with the author, which pertain to use of his works in the company's ancillary activities, traditional games, or merchandising. So they're then asking for at least 6% of the profits obtained, which equals to about 60 million Polish zloty. which then equals, for you don't know that much about Polish currency, to about $16 million in royalties. That's quite a nice sum. Then they're saying that they're being quite generous to the company, actually, where we say, we would also be remiss to fail to notice that basing our claims under aforementioned legal grounds is rather advantageous to your company. Careful reading of your contracts concluded with the author might lead one to conclude that if the company did effectively require any copyright at all, it currents only the first in series of games, and therefore distribution of all other games, including their expansions, add-ons, etc., is simply speaking unlawful. And then they go into the fact that they actually like the games, so they want to actually be sort of nice. And CD Projekt Red actually did give their own statement. Here's the original in Polish, and here's their statement. So it says, the notice indicates that Mr. Andrzej Sapkowski expects payment of additional royalties beyond what he had been contractually agreed upon between himself and the company. The contents of this notice are attached to this report, so that's what we read before. In the company's opinion, the demands expressed in the notice are groundless with regard to their merit as well as the stipulated amount. The company had legitimately and legally acquired copyright to Mr. Andrzej Sapkowski's work, EA, insofar as is required for its use in games developed by the company. All liabilities payable by the company in association therewith have been properly discharged. But then they continue on that they actually, it seems they do want to find some common ground with Mr. Sapkowski. They go, it is the company's will to maintain good relations with the authors of works which have inspired CD Projekt Red's own creations. Consequently, the board will go to great lengths to ensure amicable resolution of this dispute. However, any such resolution must be respectful of previously expressed intents of both parties as well as existing contracts. In the company's opinion, the receipt of the above-mentioned demands meets the significant criterion due to the identity of the person submitting the demands. And yeah, I actually think that probably Mr. Sapkowski deserves a bit more money, and I'm not saying that he needs to get the money or that he's legally that CD Projekt is legally binded to give him this money. I don't know enough about Polish IP laws to make any such claims, but yeah, his works have certainly made a ton of money for CD Projekt Red, allowed him to work on other projects, and I'm pretty sure that in the future they would like to publish more games from the Witcher universe, whether they're going to be like prequels or sequels based on series life or something. We don't know, but I'm guessing they would like to do that, and that's probably the reason why they actually want to figure this in a respectable manner. So, interesting thing is, this has not impacted their shares almost at all. You can see that they're pretty much on the same price where they have been for the past day. They actually grown a little bit in relations to yesterday, so yeah, this hasn't actually impacted their shares, which is quite interesting to me, to be honest. I would have thought that any such claims by the author that he won $60 million, which would, let's face it, be probably pretty big dip into the cash revenue of CD Projekt Red, especially since they do not have any new projects that are bringing cash at this very moment. But we will have to see how this actually unfolds. I'm truly hoping that it unfolds peacefully and well, because I think, honestly, there isn't a better game adaptation of a book out there. And again, I'm a huge lover of The Witcher. I want to see it expanded. I want to see, like, I personally want to see a prequel where you can just play as your own Witcher, and it's more of an open world game along the lines of the Elder Scrolls, and you're not really binded to this one storyline. But I know that's not necessarily a possibility and not something that many people would want, because The Witcher has amazing storytelling, and this would essentially force them to come up with pretty big storytelling that would still fit well into the lore created by Mr. Sapkowski, which isn't really that easy, especially if you're going back in time. It's more easier to expand the world going forward because, yeah, you have stuff that has been created and you're just making stuff up that works. But if you would go to the past, yeah, you have to make sure that everything makes sense lore-wise. Interestingly, Mr. Sapkowski actually already talked about the money he has received from CD Projekt Red back in 2014. No, not in 14. When was it? Last year, when he spoke to Andrei Sapkowski, and where he said, "I was stupid enough to sell them the rights to the whole bunch. They offered me a percentage of their profits, and I said, no, there will be no profit at all. Give me all my money right now, the whole amount. It was stupid. I was stupid enough to leave everything in their hands because I didn't believe in their success. But who could foresee their success? I couldn't." Which is sad, man. They were just lovers, and they made a great game out of it. And I think this statement will actually make his position much worse, because he agrees that I just didn't believe in the success in this game. On the other hand, if the lawyer's interpretation of Polish IP law is correct, then he will probably be eligible to some money. But again, we will really have to see, and I hope that it doesn't impact any future projects from CD Projekt Red. I hope that Mr. Sapkowski gets at least some money because he well deserves it for creating an amazing world. But altogether, I just hope that there will be no animosity between these two entities, because both of them are great creators, and I do hope that they have a lot of respect for each other. And from what I read, it actually does seem so. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Steam, maybe you want to give us an upvote and follow the blog. Either way, be sure to leave a comment, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for more gaming news, as we are your source of daily gaming news every single day. See you guys later with more gaming content.